All right, good morning. My name is Carr. I'm with Andersen Material Handling, and today I'm here to talk to you about connected facilities and warehouse efficiency. More specifically, here to talk to you about how telematics, labor management systems, and automation are being used to digitally transform businesses and warehouses to directly impact their productivity, their safety, and their bottom line. Before I get into the technologies themselves, I'd like to talk a little bit about the digital age that we live in and kind of how we got here and what's causing these changes. From a connectivity standpoint, we have roughly 4 billion active internet users today in 2019. That's projected to be out to go to about 5 billion connected by 2025, so we're more connected than ever. From a social network and sharing aspect, it's now ingrained into our culture. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and people love to feel connected to their brands and share their experiences with brands. From a sustainability and trust perspective, we have customers that are demanding transparency within companies, and consumers want to understand where their products are coming from, where they're sourced, where they're manufactured, and they want to trust the brand that they're putting their money into. So with all that said, I think it's the consumer that's driving these changes in the industry. And they're now demanding a fast, convenient, and frictionless customer experience. And many companies are now looking to these new technologies to address these needs. Digital transformation is defined as the use of fast, frequently changing digital technology to address problems. This here is a company survey that looked at about 1,000 different leaders in manufacturing and supply chain. And you can see that these challenges kind of mimic exactly what the digital age has brought us. Hiring qualified workers and keeping qualified workers, 65%. Customer demands for lower cost and pricing. Customer demands for faster response times. Increasing competitive intensity. And forecasting, which forecasting is more in the accounting perspective, manufacturing perspective, but I also look at it as labor too, figuring out how much labor you actually need. I'll get into that on the next slide, but you can actually identify areas where you either want the forklift to lower in speed or not be allowed at all, similar to a golf course where you drive too close to the green and it starts to slow down and you got to turn around. From a cost reduction standpoint, understanding your operation and where your employees are spending their time allows you to coach and make changes to your operation based on data. Many of what I talk about today is going to be making data-driven decisions rather than a gut feeling. Whether you're creating new routes, new practices, or removing costly equipment from your operation, telematics are allowing businesses to cut operations. And here's the example. This is our iWarehouse telematics zoning and mapping feature. And you can see on the red spots here are the hot spots, loading dock areas that are high traffic, high risk areas. So you can either change your operation or you can just identify those areas and maybe put some safety features within those areas. Our second technology is labor management systems, and at its core, all it is a piece of software that tracks and collects employee data that allows you to gain insight on your operation. You can report on either a single employee or you can report on a group of employees. So within a traditional, so here we got a study of 1,500 daily labor hours. Although a WMS is very powerful, and you're probably very familiar with a WMS, it only tracks about 50% of the labor hours throughout this example. Traditional labor management, if any of you are familiar, was hiring expensive engineers to come out with clipboards and stopwatches and figure out exactly how long it takes to do each task. And then on paper, you'd actually compare that to how your operators are actually working through those tasks and where they measure up to that. So with collecting different data points from different systems that you already have, labor management gives you the entire picture of where your labor dollars are being spent and the processes that are within your warehouse. Many of this in labor management is being used to identify the cost to serve. So in Woodfield's example, we got many different customers, many different processes for individual customers. So being able to identify how much labor is actually being spent for each customer is very important and can be very powerful. So here's the example of the data points that are being pulled into the LMS. So again, processes and information from your WMS, from your Raymond iWarehouse, which is the telematics solution, your time clocked information, so when did he punch in, when did he punch out, and then also different data points from scan guns and many other pieces of software that you already have existing. From a productivity standpoint, you have the ability to identify top performers, and you can actually, there's a program within the software that allows you to do an incentive program. So for the high performers, built in the software allows you to pay them a little bit more. Enhanced processes based on data, again, understanding exactly where people are spending their times or identifying where or what processes people are struggling with. You'll be able to identify that. And then right sizing staff levels, seasonal workers is a big piece of it, and understanding what your workload is and how many people you actually need is very powerful. Cost reduction, again, cost to serve is the main focus here, and eliminating indirect or non-value add processes. So again, it gives you that breakout of where people are spending their time. If that's identified as a non-value add process, then you're able to remove that process. Automation. What's driving automation? We have a projected 4.6 million U.S. manufacturing jobs to fill by 2028. And pair that with the U.S. Department of Labor's new release on the unemployment rate at 3.5%, nearly a 50-year low in unemployment. And those things are basically battling each other. We need more jobs, but everybody already has a job. So understanding these challenges, many of these challenges can be addressed by some level of automation. Getting into, managing warehouse employees and the turnover within the warehouse, demands from customers and management for higher KPIs within a warehouse facility, growth projections go along with that, and then maintenance on older equipment and technology are why a lot of people are looking into automation to fix their problems. Automation will make your operation quicker, more consistent, and more cost-effective. So there's many different levels of automation, 1 through 4, just as a basic example. Many of you are probably familiar, or if you don't feel like you're in automation, you are. Basic picking and putting software, so just understanding your inventory and how things are moving through your warehouse. WMS takes that to level 2, so some system automation. The WMS is assisting you in making decisions on inventory and how things are pulled and quality control. Level 3 is mechanized automation. So think of, rather than the man to the good to pick the order, think of it as the good to the man. So using conveyor mechanized automation within the warehouse. And level 4, think UPS, think FedEx, think integrated systems where the goods are moving through the warehouse seamlessly and the orders are being combined within that. As far as the cost of automation, we're kind of at a splitting point for an ROI that actually makes sense to look at automation. You've got labor costs that are going up and will continue to go up, and you've got robot prices and the cost of automation being reduced. So from productivity, you're able to optimize your throughput. You're able to lower injury risk, because a lot of these jobs that are being automated by robots are repetitive, non-skilled labor, and usually these will consist of lifting, lowering heavy boxes. So reducing that risk on the safety side is very important. Cost reduction, eliminating spending on labor is obviously the most obvious point of automation, and you can also reduce your downtime because you're taking that human element out of the warehouse.